Okay, hello everyone. Oh. So my name is Slava and I'm software engineer at Line Corporation, and I'm going to talk about Line New Year campaign and how do we take control of high traffic during this campaign. So first of all, I would like to talk about what do I mean by high traffic. So probably all of you send messages to your friends and families saying Happy New Year, and I hope you use Line for that. So, but what it looks for us when you do that, when you do send the messages at midnight. So this is a chart, like it's a approximate representation of service load at online services during New Year night. You can see the really high peak at midnight. It's about 2-3 times higher than normal. And another peak at 1 a.m. when the New Year comes to the next country after Japan. And this is pretty high load. It's highest for the whole year for Line. And let's take a step back and look at Line New Year's campaign. So probably most of you heard of it or participated, statistics says. And so basically it's a campaign that we do every year for several years already. And you buy some stamps, specially made for this New Year campaign. You get some tokens, you exchange them with friends, and you may win some incentives like prizes or money. So this campaign became kind of tradition in Japan. Many people congratulate their friends with this New Year stamps. And last year, we already got 25 million users participating in just 3 days. And this year, we are expecting even more. So Disney, Ghibli, and other official partners making stamps for this campaign. And about 3,000 stamps are made for this campaign specifically. And what's important for this talk is when the campaign starts. It starts right there, like on the top of the highest load of the whole year in Line. We start to accepting user requests. So how do we handle such loads, and how do we build a system which can function in such environment? So normally, if engineer hears, okay, we have high traffic, many users, so we would make a system with many servers, powerful database cluster, everything scalable. We have load balancers in front of it, and we can handle this amount of traffic. But what about this green part? It's Line internal APIs. So during Line New Year, it's already accepting a lot of load, and we need to be careful not to overload it, and the services themselves may start failing when the load is high. So we may experience high latency of user requests, we can have timeouts, and worst of all, we can have denial of service if we get throttled, or if, even worse than that, we cause Line services to fail because of our high traffic. So I see it like something like that. So we have huge pipe just plugged into Line services, and we have no control over our flow, and we have a lot of traffic, and bad things may happen. So one way to solve that is to add the asynchronous processing to this in between our application servers and Line internal APIs. So those user actions that can be made asynchronously are moved to Kafka topics and preserved there. And then consumers consume these actions, process them, and call internal APIs. So what is good about it? Of course, we get an instant response to the user. And we decoupled our APIs from the user. We offload some load from our application servers to consumers, and all the actions of users are persisted. But when the control comes in this picture, it still looks awful like pipe to me. So actually, the picture looks more like that. That's a little bit complicated, so let's go part by part. So on top of the whole system, there is processing management tool, which single place for accessing and our dashboards and making adjustment to all the parameters of processing of our system. So when we make the changes in this controlling tool, the changes take effect immediately. We don't need to restart servers. And what kind of control points do we have? So first is processing the speed control of the consumption in the topic itself. So if we see that the topic consumption rate is, for example, 100,000 events per second, and we see that the downstream of this topic cannot handle this much, we may decide to decrease the processing speed. The second point of control is API rate limit control. So each consumer may call several APIs. For example, user action may require to know display name of a user, or list of the friends of the user, or number of the people in the group, or something like that. All of these APIs, they require all of this data requires calls to line internal APIs. And some of them are heavy, some of them are light, and they all have different rate limits. So when one of the rate limits are hit, we can the whole processing slows down for these topics, and we are not abusing the system and offline. The third part I want to talk about is this red arrow below. So when we have events coming directly from user, some requests coming directly from user, if API call fails, we have nothing to do but just return failed response to the user. But if we're processing that asynchronously, we can actually put the event back and try it again later. Try it in 1 second or in 5 minutes, depending on the event. And we can try it several times. And all these parameters can be also set up in the processing management tool. And the last part is the throttling of the user requests themselves. So this is the last point of control. Actually, if we do that, the user will start having bad user experience. Not just slowing down the system, but actually refusing in access. But sometimes it's necessary if our system is under high load and our own database servers or application servers cannot handle this load. We may have to, for example, deny 10% of user in access to the system, and other 90% may still use it. So while we do that, we can win sometimes for ourselves to actually scale the system or fix some problem in performance that we found. So that's what I imagine our system to look like instead of the one huge pipe coming into the internal services. So we have many pipes. Each pipe is monitored with some indicators. Each pipe has some valves to control the flow in it, and the whole thing allows us to handle and adjust our processing during system running. So for systems that run for a long time, that's not so important because, well, the traffic doesn't change much and you can prepare for spikes. But New Year campaign system is not ready to handle the traffic that we are expecting, may not be ready because the estimations are pretty hard for the system. And we would like to be able to adjust it right there at the moment when we are start running it. And we only have 3 days when we run it. So, and the peak of traffic, it's about 1 hour. So we don't have many time to change code or change configuration of servers or databases or change the logic of applications. So we need these points of control and being able to adjust them instantly. So I hope it was interesting. Thank you very much for attention. Please find me around if you have some questions.